You've been solving the wrong problem, not because the problem is irrelevant, but because nobody told you what the actual problem is. The dating advice industry is built around a simple lie that attraction is like a combination lock. That if you do the right moves, you say the right things in the right order, it will unlock attraction. There is some truth to this, but mostly it's incomplete. Most of the advice you've been given was not built for you. It was built to serve the average guy. It ignores what makes you unique. So you've been running someone else's playbook in a game that requires your own. And until you understand why that keeps failing, nothing you try next is going to be any different. Most men in this situation do the same thing when they hit a wall. They go online and they get more advice. They get more tactics, they get more lines, and they get more actions. And for a little while, the new advice does create new energy. You feel motivated. You feel like you have something to try. You feel like you're making a difference. You have a new way to text, a new way to approach, or even a new attitude. But then, a few weeks later, inevitably, you're back in the same place. Here's what's actually happening. You're putting a different look or a different mask over yourself. It's like repainting a car and expecting it to drive differently. The engine hasn't changed. And here's what's worse. All this requires energy. All of this requires constant monitoring. It requires you to remember what it is you're supposed to do. And over time, this fragmentation becomes exhausting. It leads to inconsistency. The harder you try, the more the woman on the other side of the interaction can feel that she's not really talking to a man. She's watching a man run a program. And that's why more advice just makes the problem worse, because it makes it better. And that is why more advice often makes the problem worse before it makes it better. Not because the advice is wrong, but because the advice at the level of actions can't fix a problem that exists at the level of identity. Most dating advice focuses on individual actions. What do I say? What do I text? How long do I wait? How do I escalate? How do I make her like me? Those questions are not useless, but they are incomplete because an action only works when it fits the man using it. The exact same text can make one man seem confident and another seem insecure. The same silence can make one man seem mysterious and another boring. The same comment can make one man seem charming and another seem like he's trying too hard. So the question is not, what should I do? The question is, who am I when I do it? Women not only respond to what you do, they respond to what you mean when you do it. And what you mean comes from who you are, your identity, your direction, your groundedness, or the absence of those things. The reason everything feels inconsistent is not a lack of action. It is that your actions are not connected to anything real underneath. There's no foundation. There's no coherent sense of self that your dating behavior is flowing from. And when that foundation is missing, no amount of new behavior will fix it. The behavior will always feel borrowed, like it belongs to someone else. This is misalignment. And this is the real problem. There is a framework that I use to diagnose and fix this misalignment. I call it the VSN system: values, story, narrative. There are 3 layers of who you are and what you communicate. This is a structure that explains why your actions are or aren't working. The breakdown is always in one of 3 places. Either you're unclear in who you are and the things that matter and resonate with you, or you're unclear in the direction of your life and the role that you're supposed to be playing, or you're unclear in how and what you're actually communicating with women. The moment you identify which one it is, the path forward becomes obvious. So, what does VSN stand for? Well, it stands for values, the foundation or the building block for your personality. Story, the identity and life direction built from that foundation. And narrative, the expression of that story that other people experience. Values create the man, story gives him direction and purpose, and narrative makes him felt by others. When those three things are aligned, your behavior becomes natural. You stop asking, what would an attractive guy do? You start acting from the part of you that's already attractive. You stop trying to become some generic idea of what attractiveness is, and you start becoming more attractive by becoming more coherent and connected with yourself. This is why generic dating advice fails so many men. It is taught as if every man has the same personality, the same strengths, the same instincts, the same type of woman that he's trying to attract. But these men are not interchangeable. A naturally reserved man who tries to act loud and dominant comes across as fake. A naturally expressive man who tries to act detached and indifferent destroys the very thing that makes them attractive. When your actions match your personality and your identity, women feel the congruence. It feels safe. It feels trustworthy. If your values are unclear, you're going to chase women that aren't a good fit for you. If your story is weak, you're going to rely on women to give your life excitement and meaning. And if your narrative is misaligned, you fail to communicate who you are in a meaningful way that women can relate to. And that is where the dating problems come from. So let's break down each of the three parts. Part one is values. Your values are the building block of your personality, not just moral values like honesty or loyalty, but more broadly, the things that resonate with you. It's your natural tendencies, it's your strengths and your weaknesses. So, some men value adventure, other men value belief in something, right? Or mastery over a particular topic or subject. Some men value freedom. They want to have ownership over their lives and their destiny. Or maybe they value achievement, like they have a very specific goal that they're aiming for. None of these things are automatically better than the others. The problem starts when a man does not understand his own values. Because when you don't know what actually resonates with you, you start borrowing someone else's path. You chase the woman that someone else told you was attractive. You copy the lifestyle someone else told you was desirable. And you use a dating strategy that was built for a completely different kind of guy. A man who values depth may force himself into shallow, high-volume dating situations. A man who values freedom may enter a relationship structure that slowly suffocates him. Values matter because they give your behavior roots. When you know what matters to you, your decisions become clearer. You stop reacting to every attractive woman who gives you attention. You find out that attention is honestly pretty cheap. You stop shaping yourself around whoever is in front of you. And you stop treating attraction like approval. This is where real confidence starts. And that is why values are the foundation. Part two is story. Your story is your identity and your life direction. It is the role you are playing as a hero of your own life. Not in a fantasy sense, but in the sense that your life has direction, coherence, and purpose. There is a central character in this story, and that character is you. A lot of men do not live this way. They live passively. They go to work, they come home, they consume content, they scroll, and they wait. They hope a woman appears and make life feel exciting. They hope a relationship gives them meaning. But women are not meant to be the plot of your life. When a man has no story, his self-worth becomes dependent on her reaction. If she likes him, he feels alive. If she pulls away, he collapses. If she texts back, he feels confident. And when she goes cold, his emotional state implodes on itself. Story fixes that. Your story gives your values direction. Your values tell you what matters. Your story turns those values into a lifestyle. This matters in dating because attraction is not only about how you interact with a woman, it's also about the life she feels she's being invited into. She's asking, without saying it directly, what kind of man is this? Where is he going? Does he seem alive and vibrant? Is there something going on here that I can be pulled into? Story creates gravity, and it is this gravity that is attraction. Without it, you may still be a smart, good, decent man, but your presence feels flat and uninspiring. There's no emotional arc. When you're the hero of your own story, you stop asking women to make you feel chosen. You're already moving. You're already building. You're already becoming someone you want to be. Part 3, narrative. Narrative is the expression of your story that is interpreted by other people. In dating, it's how a woman experiences you. But it's bigger than just your words. Narrative includes body language, voice tone, eye contact, pacing, emotional expression, reactions, decisions, and even standards. Everything communicates. You're always projecting a narrative, whether you mean to or not. Before you say anything, you are already communicating. When you text back instantly out of panic, when you over-explain yourself, when you avoid expressing interest out of fear, when you try to impress instead of connect, when you become reactive because she changes her tone, all of these things communicate something about you. Women feel this. They feel your narrative. This is why the same action produces different results from different men. A confident man can tease a woman and it feels playful, but an insecure man says the same words and it feels like he's trying to prove something. A grounded man can be silent and it feels comfortable. An anxious man can stay silent and it feels awkward. The behavior is the same, but the narrative is different. That is why actions alone are not enough. Narrative determines what she feels when you do it. So how do these 3 parts work together? Values creates the man. Story gives him direction, and narrative makes him felt by others. Each part matters on its own, but the real power is in how they connect. If your values are strong, but your story is weak, you know what matters to you, but your life doesn't express it yet. You have depth, but you have no direction. If your story is strong, but your values are unclear, you're building a life that looks impressive, but it doesn't fit you. You have ambition, but there's no internal alignment. If your values and your story are both strong, but your narrative is weak, you may be a solid man internally, but women can't feel it. Values without story is internal clarity without purpose. Story without values is just performance. And narrative without values or story is tactics. And tactics without foundation are exactly what dating advice teaches. Do this, say this. This is how you should think. This is what you should do. VSN works in the opposite direction. So, why does this actually work? When your behavior is aligned, you stop constantly monitoring yourself. You stop asking questions like, was that too much? Did I text too soon? Did I seem needy? Should I act more indifferent? Instead, you start operating from conviction. You know what matters to you. You know the kind of man you are. You know what it is that you're communicating. And when something goes wrong, you have a way to diagnose it. It's not some spiral of uncertainty. It is an actual real diagnosis. Was this a values problem? Was I chasing something that does not align with me? Was it a stories problem? Am I unclear in my purpose? Am I relying on her to give my life meaning? Or am I just simply unclear? Was it a narrative problem? Did I fail to convey my real intention or my real desire? This applies across the whole dating process. So when you meet a woman, your values determine who you're naturally drawn towards. Your story determines whether your life feels compelling or stagnant. And your narrative determines whether your presence creates curiosity or nothing at all. When you're attracting women, your values determine your natural style of attraction. Your story determines whether there is something there that she can emotionally invest in, that she knows the kind of guy that you are. Your narrative determines whether she can feel your thoughts, your words, your energy, your behavior. When you enter a relationship, your values determine compatibility. Your story determines whether the relationship supports who you are becoming. And your narrative determines whether you continue communicating desire, leadership, and direction. If a man is needy, the answer is not always text less. Sometimes it is. Sometimes he doesn't know his value, so any attractive woman becomes overly important to him. If a man is passive, the answer is not always be more dominant. Sometimes it is, but sometimes he has no story. Sometimes he has no direction to invite her into. Most dating advice treats symptoms. VSN addresses the structure underneath. Conventional dating advice asks what behavior gets the result. VSN asks what behavior expresses the man. And that's a completely different question, and it leads to a completely different kind of dating life. You're not practicing how to become someone else. You're practicing how to express yourself with more clarity, more direction, and emotional impact. Even when you do not get the outcome you wanted, you're still becoming more aligned. You're not losing yourself in the process. You're building yourself through the process. So here's where it stops being a concept and becomes specific to you. Because it's easy to listen to this and think, yeah, that makes sense. The real question is, where is your alignment actually breaking down? Is it values? Are you unclear in what you want and what matters to you? Is it story? Are you living with enough direction and purpose that a woman can feel drawn into your life? Or is it narrative? Are you failing to communicate who you are in a way that women can actually feel? Most men think they have a confidence problem, an attraction problem, a what do I say problem, or how do I get her to like me problem. But those are usually symptoms. The real issue is almost always misalignment. If your values are unclear, more texting advice will not fix it. If your story is weak, more flirtation tricks will not help you. If your narrative is misaligned, more self-improvement will not make the woman feel who you are. You need to know where the actual gap is. That is why I built the VSN Alignment Assessment. It takes only about 10 minutes, and it maps where your alignment is strong and where it's quietly holding you back. Most men find at least one thing that's been holding them back without them even knowing it. This assessment is free when you sign up for the newsletter. The link is in the description. That is where this stops being theory and starts being a plan specific to you. So, the problem is almost never individual action. It is the man behind the action. That is why copying other men only gets you so far. You're not trying to become attractive by abandoning yourself. You're trying to become attractive by aligning yourself. Values creates the man. Story gives him direction. And narrative makes him felt by others. When those three things are aligned, dating becomes much clearer. Attraction becomes much more sustainable. And the right woman can finally feel who you actually are. That is the system. That is VSN.